Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Movie Monday. Last week I did a special Thursday edition of Movie Monday with my spoiler-free impressions of Thor, and I said at that point in time that the Monday video was going to be a proper spoiler-filled review, so if you want my spoiler-free impressions, you can go to that old video. You can check it out in the link in the description below. This one is going to be spoiler-filled thoughts of Thor Ragnarok, so you have been warned. Up first, I just want to talk about probably the smallest and dumbest of the little Easter eggy things that are in here, but like my personal favorite just because of what it signifies, I think. Back before they had like this big old crazy 30-year plan or whatever for Marvel, back in the original Thor, they threw in an Easter egg where in Odin's vault you had an Infinity Gauntlet with all of the gems inside. And back then, in a pre-Thanos at the end of Avengers world, it was a nice little tease and an Easter egg and kind of thing. But then, as the Avengers and stuff kind of have been building out towards the Infinity War, this Easter egg thing was never resolved. What is that gauntlet sitting in Odin's vault doing? And I absolutely loved that they called it out here, and they recognized it, and they basically dismissed it as a fake. As Hela is walking Scourge through the vault, she kind of touches on how some of these things aren't that powerful, some of them are just flat-out fakes, and then, like, the Eternal Flame is what really catches her eye. And when she's talking about the fake thing, she just pushes the Infinity Gauntlet prop from the original Thor movie, and I just got a huge kick out of that. On the flip side, one of the biggest issues I have with this film overall, as much as I enjoyed it and had a great time with it, I really don't like how dismissive it is of the previous Thor movies. And we get, I think, no better kind of reflection of this than the fact that Lady Sif is just not even mentioned anywhere. No, she is mentioned in the play within the movie. There is a character playing Lady Sif who is told to go get help. But the real Lady Sif is nowhere to be found here, which admittedly might be a better way out than what happens to the Warriors 3, Thor's, best buds, and some of the best, fiercest warriors of Asgard are just completely dispatched with almost no fanfare. Volstagg and Fandral are just immediately killed as soon as Hela shows up, and that was kind of annoying, especially as I'm a huge fan of Zach Levy ever since his days of Chuck. And I guess, when the news broke a week or so ago that he was going to be playing Shazam, I figured, yeah, he's probably not too long for, his life in the Marvel Universe in that role. But the fact that he basically just screams before daggers are thrown at him and he's killed was just really, I think, disappointing. Hogan is given a little bit more to do. He's the one who actually gets to kind of lead the armies in a fight against Hela, but he's still immediately kind of killed off in that battle. And I felt like that was maybe hey, we're sorry we gave you nothing to do in the last movie, so here you get to have a little bit of something to do in this movie, but you're still going to die. So with Lady Sif completely gone, the Warriors 3 all killed, a couple lines to write off that Jane and Thor have broken up, so she's, explaining away that Natalie Portman's not going to be doing the movies anymore. And then you have Odin killed off and Asgard destroyed, so all you really have moving forward from the Thor franchise here is Thor, Loki, and Heimdall. And ultimately that kind of feels just very dismissive of the first two Thor movies that helped get us to this point. Yeah, Thor's never been the greatest, and I think the Dark World was a very big misstep, but the fact that they're just completely, trying to write over that history instead of take those characters and try and build something new with them moving forward, they're basically just saying, let's just throw Thor into the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of world. Let's just do that. I think all of this also kind of speaks to how tonally unbalanced the film is. As I touched on in my spoiler-free review, this is minute for minute probably the funniest of the Marvel movies in their entirety. But you have that mixed with also all of these people who have died. Like named characters, established characters are all gone. And they were almost always written off with basically a rim shot. Somebody dies, there's a joke to, undercut the tension. And I think that kind of weakens the stakes of the movie. We also don't have Thor really reacting to any of that. His whole world has come crashing down. Everybody he loved, everybody is just gone. And we barely get to see him deal with that. And I get that that's not the kind of movie they were making, but it just feels off that, usually Marvel does give us a little bit of those moments, and we get to see kind of, Agent Coulson dies in Avengers, and we get to see how that affects the team. Here, everybody that Thor has known growing up basically is gone, except again for Loki and Heimdall. Everybody else, boof, gone. He's got nothing. And he's just out there cracking jokes with new friend Korg. But moving away from that, we can get back into a lot of the fun things that I did enjoy. You also have kind of the little actor cameos in the play within the movie, as I mentioned earlier. You have Sam Neill playing actor Odin. You have another Hemsworth brother, Luke Hemsworth, I believe, playing actor Thor. And you have Matt Damon playing Loki, who's amusing in his own right, just to see Matt Damon in there. But it's extra amusing if you connect the dots that he also played Loki in Dogma years ago. So it's not even his, first time hopping into the roles of the God of Mischief kind of character. Staying on that scene, it was very fun getting to see Anthony Hopkins play Loki playing Odin a little bit there and kind of his revelry. It feels a little jarring compared to where we last left off with him and the idea of him kind of sending Thor away so that he could rule. Here he's just kind of... Loki is presented throughout this film a lot as a buffoon, not as an intimidating threat as he has been kind of up to this point. He is very much kind of undercut at every corner here. He's, thrown around for jokes. They're very funny jokes. One of my favorite laugh out loud moments is his first reaction that Hulk is the Grandmaster's champion. When Hulk comes out, he's just like, I gotta get off this planet, I need to leave. And then, of course, the follow-up to when Thor gets kind of thrown around like a rag doll in a puny god moment kind of thing, and Loki gets really excited and gets to scream out, that's how that feels kind of moment. It's great moments, but I think ultimately we undercut Loki compared to the character he's kind of been set up as in the Marvel Universe. He is really the only good villain they've kind of created and let breathe and grow, outside of like the TV show stuff. And so to see him here kind of brought down so many pegs, it kind of weakens him a little bit in the grand scheme of things, I think. Staying on Sakaar, all the stuff with Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster was just delightful. From the fact of him being like, no, don't, I don't want to kill him. I don't want to kill him. He interrupted me. That's not a capital offense. That, like, his delivery in the bit about, time works funky here, for example, I could just be, and he just kind of trails off when talking about his age or whatever, and just, like, the audience, both times I've seen it now, just ate that moment up. In that vein, if time does work differently on Sakaar, and we know that, at least for Thor, it has been 2 years since Banner has been Hulk, I'm curious if it's been even longer than that, if Hulk has been there seemingly decades or something like that, and he doesn't even realize the extent of how bad he's in. Thor and Hulk as a pairing have a lot of great moments from their fight, and the like Thor having moments like, you're embarrassing me. I told them we worked together. I told them we were friends. The sun is coming down, trying to like put Hulk to sleep was a great moment. All the stuff after the fight where Hulk is being pouty baby Hulk, angry with Thor trying to get through to him. Also great stuff. My favorite moment from that trailer that came out when they're talking about, Hulk is a raging fire and Thor's more like a smoldering fire. That moment and just so many of the jokes in this world, I think, really cement the fact that they really were playing around and just kind of maybe ad-libbing lines and stuff in the film. And I still argue that there's a bit at the end of that scene where Chris Hemsworth is laughing as Chris Hemsworth, not as Thor, as he gets that line kind of fed to him. It just looks like he's breaking character a little bit, and we're getting to see the actor shine through. And it's just like, it's not something I'd want throughout the whole movie, but in that moment, it's just precious and delightful and wonderful to see. you also get a little bit of that between Thor and Loki when they're talking about Thor's, the time during Thor's childhood where Loki pretended to be a snake because Thor loves snakes, and then he could jump out and be like, blah, and then Thor, got mad. There's both in his delivery of that and in Tom Hiddleston's kind of little smirk reaction to it. There's definitely a sense of, like, that's the real performers kind of having those reactions and not even necessarily the characters. So those are great little moments that I think are paced just well enough throughout the film, and they don't overwhelm the film. I think, oddly, one of the best compliments I can give this film is that it has made me want to go and watch Taika Waititi's other work. I think the way he's infused humor in here, even as it undercuts a lot of the stakes that I wanted from the movie, definitely makes for an enjoyable experience. And so I think if I go and watch something of his where I don't have any kind of preconceived wants or desires from that film or from a franchise or something like that, I think I'm going to really enjoy his just style and sense of humor that much more. So those are my spoiler-filled thoughts on Thor Ragnarok. Let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.